Hello friends, I welcome you all in this session of project management for managers subject, and the topic which we have been discussing is risk analysis for standalone projects. Let me tell you what we have done so far. We have done sensitivity analysis, we have done scenario analysis, break-even analysis. We have also seen couple of examples on Hillier models of finding risk for a particular project. We have also seen simulation analysis, right? When do we apply simulation analysis? In fact, we apply simulation analysis in a situation which is highly uncertain, right? And when formulation of mathematical equations is very difficult, in fact formulation of mathematical modeling is difficult, then in that scenario we apply simulation. Let us look at decision tree analysis, which is also one of the techniques of analyzing risk in a project. So, what is decision tree analysis? It is a tool for analyzing situation where sequential decision making is required. As I said in one of the sessions that to complete a project you need to make several decisions, and many times you need to make decisions when you do not have much information with you, or initially you will have very fluid information and you have to take a decision, right. So, in project many times you need to take decisions in a sequence, right. For example, let us say if I start a project today and the life of the project is 10 years. Suppose if something goes wrong tomorrow, right, then what would be the decision? If something goes wrong after 2 years, then what should be the decision, right. And to solve a problem using decision tree analysis, we should know what is the probability of future events, right, so that we can know how that event will affect our project. So, let us take an example. Let us say there is a pharmaceutical company which has come up with a new molecule, right, and the pharmaceutical company has gone for, let us say, pilot production of that molecule, and test marketing has also been done. Now, after these two things, after pilot production and test marketing, the next decision which the pharmaceutical company has to take is to start manufacturing, right. Now, when you start manufacturing, what kind of plant you need, that is a decision to be made. So, do you want a small plant or a large plant, right. So, let us say if you are coming up with a small plant, and if the demand of the product is very high, then you will have to expand the plant capacity, right. Suppose if you go for large plant in the beginning itself, right, and if demand comes out to be low, then you would be at a loss, right. So, these are couple of sequential decisions, right. So, you need to take sequential decisions according to the probability of happening a particular event, right, and then you should check what is the expected monetary value of one particular node in a decision tree, right. Okay, so there are a couple of steps involved in decision tree analysis. The first thing is you should identify what is the problem, right. Unless and until you identify a problem, you do not know how to solve it, right. So, identify the problem. Once problem is identified, then you should look for different alternatives. What are different ways of solving that particular problem? And this is the process wherein you should go for brainstorming session, right, because brainstorming session will help you in identifying problem as well as in identifying several alternatives, right. So, if you are, let us say, not going for brainstorming session, then how to find out alternatives? In that case, you will have to rely on, let us say, past data, right. So, past data will help you what kind of actions you had taken earlier for a problem which has just occurred in your project. If if this kind of problem occurred earlier also, then you will take similar alternatives, right, or similar decision. So, in this stage it is good to come up with different imaginative efforts to come up with different alternatives. So, people who are sitting in, let us say, brainstorming session, they should be imaginative to come up with several alternatives to solve that particular problem. And when you come up with several alternatives, you should also keep in mind what would be the risk if you take up one particular alternative. So, you should be very careful while generating alternatives in brainstorming session. So, you have to take care of risk and uncertainty. Now, this is the first step, right. Second step is delineating the decision. The third one is specifying probabilities and monetary outcomes, evaluating various decision alternatives, right. Now, we will see in detail second, third and fourth steps, right. So, in a decision tree, you have got different branches and different nodes. So, the decision tree exhibiting the anatomy of decision situation shows decision points and chance points. Decision points, also called decision forks. So, at this point you are coming up with different alternatives, right. Once you are done with decision points, then you come up with come at this point, chance points, right. They are also called outcomes. So, first decision point is what are different alternatives, second decision point is what are different outcomes of those alternatives. Now, the decision tree reflects in a diagrammatic form the nature of decision situation in terms of alternative courses of action and chance outcomes which have been identified in first step of the analysis. So, this is how you should prepare a tree, right. There would be couple of nodes, then couple of branches, and from each branch again you will have some more branches and so on. So, this is how decision tree you can prepare. Now, decision tree should be simple as far as possible. If you make a complex decision tree, then it would be very difficult to easily infer it. So, it is always suggested that you should go for a simpler decision tree, because you can always prepare a complex decision tree by coming up with several alternatives and assigning different probabilities to those alternatives. But whenever you come up with alternatives, try to see that those alternatives are feasible. Feasible means it should be feasible in terms of let us say technical aspects, marketing aspects and other aspects as well, right. So, try to come up with lots of alternatives in the beginning and then try to summarize those alternatives. Let us say if you have come up with let us say 10 alternatives for a problem. So, try to reduce those 10 alternatives into let us say 3 or 4, right, because you would like to assign probabilities also to those 10 alternatives. So, it is good to assign probabilities to only 3 alternatives instead of 10 alternatives. So, it is suggested that decision tree should be simple, right. Once you are done with second step, this is the third step in decision tree analysis, specification of probabilities and monetary value of outcomes. So, as I said, once you are done with delineation of decision tree, you need to collect following data. So, the probabilities associated with each of the possible outcomes and monetary value of each combination of decision alternative and chance outcome. So, you need to assign different probabilities, right, and also monetary values to those alternatives which are having probabilities attached to them. Now, how to assign probability? Now, this is quite a difficult task. So, probabilities can be assigned in two ways, either in subjective way or in objective way. When I say objective way means you have got some past data and you know how things have happened in past, so that so you can easily assign probability to a future event. For example, let us say if this laptop has failed 10 times in last 10 months. So, I know what is the probability of failing this laptop. I can assign that in next month also the probability of failing this laptop is, let us say 0.3, right. So, since I have past data, I can do some analysis on past data and I can assign a probability to future event. This is known as objective type of assigning probabilities to a particular alternative, right. But in real life situation you do not have many times past data of something, right. So, you need to assign probability in a subjective manner. When I say subjective manner means on the basis of experience you will have to assign probabilities. So, let us take an example. Let us say you are coming up with a new electric moped, and what is the probability of success of that particular electric moped. Now, since I do not have any past data about failure or success of electric moped, so what I will do, I will assign some probability, right, based on my experience. So, let us say probability is 0.5, right, or let us say 0.3. So, it would be different, different experts will give different probabilities. So, this is the way in which you can assign probabilities. Another example is, let us say if you want to forecast what would be the monsoon next year, right. So, since you have got past data, you can easily calculate what would be the probability of having good monsoon in next year. So, this is again a subjective, not subjective, but it's an objective type of probability. The fourth step in decision tree analysis is evaluation of alternatives. Now, since you have done first three steps, right, the first one was identification of problem and generation of alternatives, then delineation of tree, the third one was assignment of probabilities and monetary values, right, and the fourth one is evaluation of alternatives. Now, this is the most important step, and in evaluation of alternatives what we do, we have a decision tree. So, we start at the right hand side of the tree and calculate expected monetary value at every chance point, right. So, we move in decision tree analysis from right to left, okay. Then given the expected monetary value of the chance point in first step, what we have calculated, evaluate alternatives at final stage decision points in terms of their expected monetary values, right. Similarly, you keep on moving from different from right side to left side and keep on evaluating different alternatives and different nodes, and finally towards left you will have only one decision to be made, whether let us say to start a particular project or not, right, or which alternative you should select at the end of the day. So, you should continue this process. What process? Calculate the expected monetary value at chance points, select the decision alternative which has the highest expected monetary value at various decision points, truncating inferior decision alternatives. So, when you move from right to left side, you need to keep on ignoring those alternatives which are not yielding much expected monetary value. So, what we will do, we will take up an example and we will solve a question using decision tree analysis. Okay. So, let us take this example. The scientists at a company have come up with an electric moped. Now, the firm is ready for pilot production and test marketing. Now, this process will cost company 20 million rupees and it will take 6 months time, right. So, the cost is 20 million, time is 6 months for pilot production and test marketing. Now, management believes that there is 70% chance that the pilot production and test marketing will be successful. It means there is only 30% chance that pilot production risk and test marketing will be a failure, right. Suppose if these two things, let us say these two things are successful, right. Product pilot production and test marketing, if this is successful, then what, the company will have to start manufacturing this particular product, right. In that case the plant would cost 150 million. When the probability is 0, there is no need of starting any plant, right. So, in case pilot production and test marketing are successful, then only you will go for manufacturing of this particular product and you will come up with a plant which would cost you 150 million rupees, right. The plant will generate an annual cash flow of 30 million for 20 years if the demand is high, right. Otherwise, it would generate 20 million for 20 years if demand is moderate. High demand has probability of 0.6 and moderate demand has probability of 0.4, right. So, just see here once again, the demand is, the probability that the demand is high would be 0.6 and in that case the company would be getting 30 million for next 20 years, right. Otherwise, for low probability the company would be getting 20 millions for next 20 years, right. To analyze such situations where sequential decision making is involved, decision trees analysis is helpful, right. So, this is a case of where you can apply decision tree analysis. So, let me prepare decision tree for this particular example and then we will solve this particular case, right. So, this is your decision point and at this point you have got two options, right. Either you should go for test marketing and pilot production or don't do anything, right. So, let us look at this option. So, this is you are carrying out pilot production and test marketing, right. If not, you are doing nothing, right, don't do anything, right. So, first alternative, second alternative. So, let us call it D11 and D12, right. When you go for this, there would be a cost of rupees 20 million, right. Now, we know that if this is successful, then we will go for, we will see whether what is the probability of success. So, here we will go if it is, let us say, success and this is failure, right. So, probability of success is, it is given in question 0.7 and let us write over here 0.3 is probability of failure, right. Now when probability of success is 0.7, again you can have, this is your C11, this is C11 and this is C12, right. So this is C11 and C11 and C12. Now let's take a decision over here whether you should invest or you don't want to invest, right. So let's call it D21, right, D21 invest, otherwise D22 do not invest, right. If you invest, then there are again two options, whether the demand is high or demand is low, right. So C2 high demand, low demand, right. So this is C21 high demand and this is C22 low demand, right. If demand is high, you will have annual cash flow of 30 lakh, and if it is low, then it would be 20 lakh, right. And the probability of high demand is, it's given, it's 0.6 and this is 0.4, right. So if this is a failure, then you are not doing anything, you are just stopping, right. Do not invest if you are not investing anything, right. So you will stop here, right. So this is our decision tree. So let's look at, this is D3. So D31 is stop, right. Now this is our decision tree. Now we want to take a decision, should we go for this particular project or not. This decision is to be made. Let me tell you, before going for solving this particular question, what we have done in last session, right, in last 25 minutes. So what we have done here is, we have started with defining what is decision tree. As I said, decision tree is a process wherein you will have different nodes and different branches, right. So for decision tree analysis, there are 4 steps which you need to take. The first step is very important. You need to find out what is the problem and what are different alternatives. Once you are done with problem and alternatives, the next step is delineation of decision tree, right. You need to prepare a decision tree, in which you will have different decision points and different choice points, right. After this, the most important step is the assignment of probabilities and monetary values. And this assignment of probability can be objective or subjective. It is suggested that you should try to assign probabilities in objective manner, but if you do not have past data, then you do not have anything but to go for subjective probabilities. The next step is evaluation of alternatives. So as I said, at each point you need to find out expected monetary value. After this, you just drop out those decisions which are inferior in nature, and then finally you should take a decision whether you should continue with a project or you should stop that particular project. And let me stop over here as far as this session is concerned. In next session we will solve this particular question. Thank you very much.